Good Friday evening. You know, when somebody said, you're going to have something on a Friday night, who's going to come? You came. It's like throwing a party and having people show up. This is bigger than what we imagined, and we are thankful and we're glad, and we are in for quite a treat tonight. I am Neil Lester, the Dean of Humanities here in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at ASU, and on behalf of the college and on behalf of Arizona State, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Johnathan and Maxine Marshall Distinguished Lecture of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which this year partnered with Project Humanities. Talk to the hand. Talk to the hand. You too could be wearing a hand by going to Project Humanities website on the bookmark, because people still read books, okay? It's a university-wide initiative some of you know about, but it's an honor for the project that I'm coordinating to be partnering with the Marshall Lecture, which has a very distinguished history here at Arizona State and in the college. It basically brings people together to explore what connects us and to try to get us to make sense of a very complicated world that we live in. So please go to the website. In fact, if you contact me, you too can sport this much coveted t-shirt. All right? That really is about the idea of the many becoming one. And I think this particular event, that's why I'm documenting it with pictures, because some people out there aren't going to believe that we had you here tonight on Friday, because we know that you could have been elsewhere. It is through the vision and the generosity of Johnathan and Maxine Marshall that this lecture has become a signature event at ASU that ideally attracts the diverse audiences that you represent tonight. The proof that we in Arizona really can bridge cultures and identities and connect with wider communities. So give yourselves a hand for that. Each year, the Marshall Lecture hosts a speaker of national and international prominence who influences our culture, who ennobles our humanity and proves our understanding both of the fragile nature and great power of democracy. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing to you an icon in literature and letters, known around the world for her leadership and her commitment to humanity and the pursuit of truth. But before I bring her out, you know we have to do housekeeping. And what's some of that housekeeping? Power down. Anything that beeps, hums, or otherwise makes noise, I shall demonstrate. I shall demonstrate. Okay? Okay. Also, yep, there it goes, it's turning off. If you have a question, please print on cards that have been provided and pass it to the end of your aisles, and I do imagine at some point they'll be light enough for you to see clearer, and we will entertain as many questions as time permits. I remind you also that the lecture is copyrighted by the Arizona Board of Regents, and unauthorized audio and videotaping are prohibited. Finally, and sadly, the book Bicycles has sold out. Now, that's a good thing. Well, don't start holding up because you got a copy of it, okay? What that means is that we have to go to the internet and buy it. That's exciting, though. What we don't want is this situation where we have people out and you have lots of books and nobody buys them. So that's encouraging for people who read books and for people who write books. But let's get on about the business of this evening. If you will indulge me a bit, and you'll need to, Brenda. We work at the seas. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Right. You can't indulge me until I find me. Okay. All right. If you'll indulge me a bit, I'd like to share something with you. So yes, this is good. People are, if I were at Tanner, we'd be playing music right now as people are walking in. Okay. My Tannerites know who they are. Okay. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to, by way of sharing a little bit of myself, wow. Wow. Okay. All right. July 1, 1980. Dear Miss Giovanni, I am a senior English major at West Georgia College in Carrollton, Georgia, enrolled in a modern poetry class. In each class, each student has been asked to choose a modern 20th century poet or poetess to investigate. Since some of your works were presented in the textbook, the Norton Anthology of Modern Poetry, and since my sister, a student at Savannah State College in Savannah, finds your work nothing short of delightful, I anxiously and excitedly selected you and her works to elaborate on in partial fulfillment of the class requirements. Particularly, I have selected your My House volume as my focus of concentration. Hence, I would appreciate any comments that might assist me in interpreting, understanding, and analyzing your poetry. I would especially appreciate any personal comments on tone, language, common themes, and their motivation, and any poetic techniques that you might be able to share that cause you to stand out among other modern poets of today. Any information that you have available will be much appreciated and greatly needed. Thank you. Neil A. Lester. That was in July 1980, July 1st. On September 19th, 1980, I received this handwritten response. Dear Neil Lester, sorry that this is so late. My father had a stroke, and I've not been in New York City very much. Hope that you haven't graduated. Or hope that you have. Whichever is better for you. I've no insight on my poetry. This is a bio list and a few comments by others. Hope you'll forgive me if I've strung you out. Though, of course, being the student you are, you came through with flying colors, right? Nikki Giovanni. Now, I offer that example not to let you know that I keep everything, and not so much to reflect me, but rather to offer a reflection on our guest tonight. Professor Giovanni's profoundly refreshing way of connecting and inspiring is why she is here in this moment with us this evening. In her comments about life and living, she offers this pearl of wisdom. Life is not a problem, it's a process. You only have so much time in which to do what you can do. If you're a hedonist, work at your pleasure. You make a record that you existed. And if you did you do it well? I am honored and humbled to present our 2011 Johnathan and Maxine Marshall Distinguished Lecturer, Professor Nikki Giovanni.
I just said to Neil, I can't believe I didn't just curse him out. I must have been in a good mood or something. I'm not very internet-y. And the person, I like technology. I have technology. I have an iPad too, and I read basically on a Kindle and stuff like that. But the person who does my email and stuff, who actually runs my calendar, got sick this year. She had a kidney stone, which is really bad, and then they had to operate on the kidney stone, but she's diabetic, and so the operation is bad, and then the operation didn't work, so it was even worse. And so she missed winter. I mean, she spent from like January until the end of March, in the hospital. And that's really kind of serious. So I got stuck with, I'm not dumb, I just don't, I just don't do email, But now, by the time you teach somebody how to answer it, you may as well do it yourself, because we kept hoping, well, Jenny's going to get better. And I do know this, if you're sick, you really want to feel like, Sandra Day O'Connor said that, and she's your friend out here. You remember when she had, isn't she from Arizona? Well, but you remember when she had breast cancer, and somebody said, well, what helped you get better? And she said, knowing I had a job. It did. And so therefore, we would have expected her, when she went back to the Supreme Court, to support the people who were suing people who were, in fact, being fired because they had problems. But I guess people don't have to make sense, do they? But that would be another. But anyway, Jenny was sick, so I'm answering my email. And if I had received Neil's letter, I would have done as I did some kid who wrote me, Miss Joy, can you tell me about whatever it was? And I wrote back, no. That's why they ask you to learn it. They didn't ask you, when you're reading Shakespeare, for God's sake, you don't call him up, hey, Bill, Supposed to be doing that. I am truly delighted to be back at ASU. I've spoken here before. I like the state. It's so pretty. It really is. And of course, your spas, and you have good food. So there's, very little downside to. That's true. I want to say one other thing that's not about anything. I teach, well, I teach at Virginia Tech. And I am a UDP, which I'm really thrilled about. I am a university distinguished professor, which by law is 1/2 of 1% of all professors, so there's 14 of us. I'm sure I don't have to tell anybody that I'm the black girl, right? But you kind of enjoy it, because if you let anything like that, and I'll say this to the black students here, if you let, the fact that maybe some people don't want you, if you let that intimidate you, you won't get anything done, because most people don't want you, so to hell with them. You go on and... That's the truth. You just have to go on. But I'm a fan of a couple of things. I'm a real fan of space, as you know, but you don't, but you may. But I'm a real fan of architecture. And I got invited a couple of years ago, and to tell you the truth, I do not know why. I don't know how that mistake was made. But Walmart called me. They did. That was really, really sweet, when you come out to Bentonville. And of course, the answer is yes, because I'd do anything. I would speak for the Klan if I thought I'd be safe. That's the truth. No. That's the truth. Because anything else, you're afraid. I'm not afraid. I have a teeny tiny foundation, and the name of the foundation is The Answer is Yes. And so that's what we do. So Walmart called us, like, well, yeah. And so I went out, and there's like, they call you Dr. Giovanni, like, Dr. Giovanni, what do you think we should do? I said, Yola, it's ugly. What the hell you mean? Do you look at these buildings? They're ugly. They are. Walmart is ugly. I did make a suggestion that they. Am I wrong? It's ugly. At that point, the toilets were dirty. And I said, let me share why I don't go to Walmart. I have a mother. She's 80 years old, 80-something years old. I can't take her into a place that she can't pee. It's basic, right? I also wanted them, of course, to have a little tea thing. They did take my suggestion, as you know, that the toilets are doing better. They are. But Walmart is the biggest retail building, and it's probably one of the biggest companies in the world. It should be beautiful. How could I'm Black American, how could former slaves build the beautiful churches, Abyssinia Baptist Church, Mount Zion Baptist Church in Knoxville? How could the former slaves then have a nickel come together every week and put something in there and build beautiful buildings? How could the Pope, who's dealing with peasants that would be killed for shooting a deer, build the cathedrals that we saw? And then Walmart is the biggest company in the world, and every time you go in there, you feel small and stupid and cheap. So I was invited to speak to the architectural students. And I was very pleased because my answer is yes. And so I went over, and this is what I learned. I'm going to do this, and you all, okay, if it doesn't work for you, I understand. But now I'm standing in front of our freshman architectural students at Virginia Tech. They're good kids. And I said, Howard Roark was naked. Thank you. About 3 people understood. And I'm saying, how are you going to be an architect? I'm not an Ayn Rand fan. She's an idiot. But how are you going to... Well, she is. I mean, she's 2 steps off of Nazism. But you understand... Well, she's dead now. But you understand... You know, she's a white Russian, and she was against the red Russians because she lost something, and she should have understood that if you're always sucking up everything that everybody else has, sometimes somebody's going to slit your throat or your parents' throat, and you're going to flee to America, and don't hand me any crap about how it's the geniuses that made the world. It's you and me that made the world. That's the truth. That's the truth. It's like... Now, it makes me crazy, and this is not Nikki's lecture on that, but it's like people sitting around talking about rich people make jobs. Rich people don't make jobs, they take jobs away. That's why every time you turn around, it's the truth. That's why when there are mergers, 30,000 jobs are going to be lost by Verizon. Hell, Econ 101 teaches you demand makes jobs. So if you put money in the hands of the people, they will make demands. And they will then go on cruises, or they will buy clothes, or they will build schools, or they will do. You put money in the hands of people. You don't put money in the hands of investors. They don't know what to do with it. They send the money overseas. Of course, you're here in one of our richer states. But a lot of people are real... suffering. And we need to put money in the hands of the people. People need jobs. That's not hard. I could figure that out. Hell, somebody, you know what I said to my students the other day, and it's the last dumb thing I'm going to do, but we were talking about, no, because we got the rocket that'll go to Mars. And I'm a big, big, big fan of Mars. And it's only like, what, $347 billion or something like that. And, well, it's all play money. I mean, anybody that understands what that means. You know, what drug are you on? Nobody understands billions, let alone hundreds of... But it's not like anybody's going to write a check. You know, I'm going to call up the president and say, okay, Nikki, you want to go to Mars. Here's your $347 billion and go. That's money. That's a jobs program. Because that says that we have to train and hire, for example, math teachers and chemistry teachers and physics, and that has to go down to 4th and 5th grade. You can't start teaching science in college. You have to teach it all the way down. You do. That's true. But more, which we all know, science without literature is bastardization. It is. You have to have imagination. People have to read. So every child in America, I don't care what anybody says, needs an iPad 2 or a Kindle. That's the truth. That's a jobs program. Because you certainly can't expect poor kids to carry books around. What are they going to do with them? They're leaving them, and the silverfish will eat them up. They need... Isn't that true? They need an electronic reader. And as we are moving into color on the Kindle and, of course, the iPad, you know, you can read Sandra Boynton, and that's in color, then we know we can now put anatomy books on the iPad too. And you can learn your anatomy there. You can learn your symbol. And why the hell not? Somebody says, well, Nikki, how are we going to pay for it? We're going to pay for it because it's a jobs program. And it's something that we need, and it's sustainable. And it's something that would help our children. Because if we can't afford ignorance. You think, if somebody said that, I didn't. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. We just can't afford it. And if somebody's idea of what we do with people who have problems is put them in jail, that's an insanity. We've been putting people in jail. It is. It really is. I can't believe that the 21st century solution to people who break laws that we actually made so that they would actually break them. That's the truth. I was singing Sam Cooke, because I sing, not every morning, but I was in a good mood. And probably nobody here remembers Miss Francis. Yeah? Good morning, and I was, another day is dawning, and my students like, oh, what is wrong? But something came up, and I said, do you know Sam Cooke? And a couple of kids did, because they're in the retro thing. And I was like, Sam is old, And I don't know why what we were talking about. Oh, because we were reading Ron Rash's book, short story, The Trustee. And he was on a chain gang. And so I said, I hear something saying, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. See what I'm saying? Don't you know that's the sound of the men working on the chain gang? Yeah. Thank you. Give me something. You're good. But there are no more chain gangs. So Sam couldn't do that anymore. Well, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. That's barbaric. That was 19th century. It was bad in the 19th century. Wow. Oh my God, I had no idea. I mean, that's, wow. Because, I was just going to, because there's a woman, Mary Wells. Please, Mr. Postman, wait, And of course, the kids don't know that because they don't get letters anymore. They don't, because they tweet, Facebook, and amazingly to me, people say things like, I have 600 friends on Facebook. Nobody has 600 friends nowhere. No. Wow, that blows my mind. You really have chain gang. What is wrong with Arizona? I apologize. I would have never said that if I had. I'm from Tennessee, so it's a different thing. Let me. God, that's embarrassing. Let me change subjects. This is the 100 best African American poems, but I cheated. And I cheated because when I was in it, this is the kind of book for those of us who are writers in the book. And I cheated because if I did the 100 best, every 20 years publishers will call you. Somebody in this room will get called. And they'll say, it's time to upgrade. But if you do the 100 best, you literally will run from Phyllis Wheatley, because you have to have Phyllis. You'll run to Paul Laurence Dunbar, because you have to have Dunbar. By the time you get to Langston Hughes, you're out of poems. Because Langston is so incredible. And, if you really, really push it, you might get a Imamu Baraka. And if you're me, you're going to put Tupac in. But, yeah, you got to have Tupac. But I thought about it, and I do want to share this with students in the room, because I've been teasing Michelle and them. I'm a big fan of undergraduates. And it's because they just come to you with such a freshness, you can let them do it. And the graduate students, of course, all know everything. So it's, so they do, and they sitting there like, I know more than you do. But it's the nature of the thing. But I was thinking, and that's what I wanted to share, if you only do what people ask you to do, in the words of Stevie Wonder, you haven't done nothing. So when I thought about it, I thought, okay, now I'm supposed to do the 100 best poems, but I won't, there's no Nikki there. That'll just be what anybody could have done. So what I decided to do was to do a book, actually I guess the term would be, I wanted to make it a pizza. And so what I did, I'm going to go from 1 to 100 in this book, but I'm going to stuff poems in between. So the book actually, well, why not? It's my book. So the book actually has 221 poems. It does. And it comes with a CD. And I was really happy. Now, this is where I know I have sorors in this room because I see a lot of red. Ooh. And, of course, we're members of Delta Sigma Theta. And, of course, we know our history, so we know AKAs are our mothers, and we're very proud of the AKAs, and we think that they've done extremely well. Well, I'm a big fan of the Black Greek community because they're good people. So I called. It was one of those, do you remember Trading Places when, Eddie Murphy and that, Dan Aykroyd. Remember Dan Aykroyd woke up one morning when it was like, and he goes like pork bellies. And he goes, I woke up one morning and said Ruby D. Because I had this book. Ruby is our soror, as you know. And I called Ruby and I said, hey, Ruby, what do I have to do to get you to come to Virginia Tech? And for those of you who know Ruby, hey, Nikki, just ask. I did a pretty good Ruby D. And so I said, I'm asking. Now, Ruby doesn't travel alone, so she is going to come with her niece. Now, I've known President Steger as president of my university since he was the president. I mean, I've known him forever. I think he likes me. He's a very, calm kind of man. And I saw him walking down the sidewalk. He does try to avoid me sometimes. He's walking down the sidewalk. He does. And he saw that I saw him, so it's like, no. And I said, Dr. Steger, will you read with me? We're going to have a reading, because I decided to have a reading. And he said, oh, yes, I'd be happy to. He said, tell Sandy to set it up. And then I said, Ruby D is coming. And his eyes clouded over. As Ruby D is coming to our campus, what can I do to help? Amazing. I mean, he's in love with her. So I said, you can have the dinner, of course, because you immediately, if they ask, give him a job. I would say that to you. But after I spoke to Ruby, I called our soror, Novella Nelson. And I said, Ruby's coming down to read. Will you come down to read? And Novella said, yes. So now what we have is our CD with, because Val Gray Ward came. It's really wonderful. And this is what I wanted to do. And actually, I'm going to give it to Lester. I have, Tech does a lot of good things. And the one good thing that I do, if you say, Nikki, what is the best thing that you do? Truly, the best thing is that I can spend money. No, a lot of people can't. They don't know what to do. They get confused. They waste. Not me. No, I know how to spend money. It's a gift. And so what I wanted Tech to do, which is what we've done here, is I convene a poetry prize, and it's called the Steger. I named it after the president because he gave me the money to do it. Gave me $1,000, and he said, if I give you $1,000, can you do a poetry prize? So mine just like immediately, okay, yeah, I can do that, because the answer is yes. But then I realized, but I realized if I broke the money up, I could never grow the prize. And the whole point of everything is to grow it, to make it bigger, make it bigger, make it bigger. I learned that from Michael Corder. So I kept the $1,000 so that I could then get a partner. So then we had $500 second prize, $300 third prize. And my dream was, which we accomplished 2 years ago, that the instructor, not the professor, because professoriate makes money, but the instructors don't. And I wanted to give the instructor who taught the winning poet a $500 prize, so we were able to do that. But when everybody came down, we had now an incredible group of people, men and women, reading black poetry. Some of us are not black, as you can see. And because black poetry is not for black people. It's for everybody. It is. And so what I do here, and I wanted to share it with both my sorors because Ruby's on it. And I only have 10, unfortunately, here, but Neil will kind of distribute it for me. And I'm sorry. No. But I wanted to share it because Arizona has an incredible poetry, and actually I think there's an Arizonan in there. Arizona has an incredible poetry tradition. And up in Tucson, you do. It's just wonderful. And sometimes, if people like me who travel, if we don't bring things to you, you don't know what we're doing, and we don't know what you're doing. And the art community, unlike, for example, the business community, they all know what they're doing, and they all collude against us. And we in the art community, they do. And we in the art community don't talk to each other, so we don't know. And then we always feel like we're alone. The best dollar in America is the art dollar, because this dollar, it's the hardest working dollar in America, because it turns over and over and over. You give almost any artist a couple of $1,000s. I would love to see just a program, give every state, like $1 million. That's only $50 million, right? And let it be run by the Art Council. And the Art Council will turn that million over in every state. It will turn over and over and over. And our downtowns will be revived. I know that our writers will be, our painters. Things will happen. And it will be uplifting to our souls. It's true. So now I do what I came to do. I am a poet. It's a good thing to be. And I recommend it. And I know that those of us who are older, where are my manners? I want to thank Mrs. Marshall for endowing this program that has allowed me to come here. I had a lovely, please. We had a lovely dinner. It's very nice, and it's always nice, of course, to basically, I'm an old blues person. I was just talking about, I'm 68, and I think anybody my age knows everybody. And it's kind of funny, because sometimes they think you're name dropping, but no, it's because you met them. Our soror, Arlena Horn, used to babysit my son. I mean, it's one of those kind, because you're right there at the right age. So I saw Mr. Charles, that you're going to do a tribute to Ray Charles. And I said, Mr. Charles, he was a lovely, lovely man. And he was blind, as you know. And so when I met Mr. Charles, I had no idea. He was a womanizer, but he wasn't that, Well, you know that. But when I met him, he was, blind people touch you, not improperly, but, and they do, that's what blind people, I guess they get away with. But he was like, but that's what he said, you're the little lazy causing all the commotion. I said, I'm not Mr. Charles, I'm not causing that commotion. Yes, you are. But it was just, because I was, 24 years old, 25 years old. And so I knew Dizzy Gillespie, the whole gamut, because and I'm fortunate because I know the young people. I'm getting ready to work with a young man who's troubled, but I like him a lot. And hell, a lot of people trouble if you didn't work with him. But D'Angelo, Michael had problems. But he's got a beautiful voice, and he called me and he asked, and the answer is? Yes. So I'm going to be working with D'Angelo. I hope that something comes of it, because he lost someone he loves a lot, and I lost my mom, and, I didn't lose her, she died, and then my sister died. So some sad things happened, so I understand some sadness, and I think it's going to be interesting, and who knows what these, all it can be is not good. And so I just wanted to kind of share that too, because if you worry about things being good or not good, you never get anything done. You just have to keep moving, you have to keep going forward, and you have to do it with a good spirit. I'm a big fan of humanity. There are things that happen. I was speaking to my high school recently, not my high school, at the high school in my city. It's a small rural, I live in a teeny town, it's not much bigger than this auditorium. And it's a little town, everybody knows your business, things like that. But I started my lecture with the students, I was sharing at dinner. I started my lecture with the students, good evening, good afternoon, I'm so happy to be here. The South lost. Well, they did, and I get tired of people acting like they didn't. They lost. They fought a war and they lost. A lot of people did. Get over it. And I'm really tired of the letters flying back and forth, because this is a centennial, as you know, or whatever these centennial things are. It's like the 150th year. And everybody's right now, well, the slaves fought for the Confederacy. No, asshole, they did not. And that was the nicest thing I could have said. They did not. That's why you passed the fugitive slave law, because they were bleeding out of the South because they didn't like it. If slavery was fun everybody would have been running to be a slave. Get over it. And what it is that the planters have pimped, is the term that I would use, poor white boys into thinking they were fighting for a noble cause. They were fighting against their own best damn interest. Because if the nation had continued, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, half slave and half free, it would have become all slave. And all you could do as a white boy was hope to get a job working for a planter so that you could be over some Negro. What kind of sense does that make, and how does that become freedom? And somebody needs to tell somebody, get over it, you lost. Makes you crazy. I'm a native Tennessean. I was born there. During the age of segregation, when you couldn't go to the same amusement park or the same movie theater, when the white guys would cruise up and down the street and call out to you, when the black guys were afraid of being lynched. But we went to church each Sunday and we sang a precious song, and we found a way not to survive. Anything can survive, but to thrive and believe and hope. I'm a native Tennessean. I was born there, but I was only 2 months old when my mother and father moved my sister and me to Cincinnati during the age of segregation, when Dow Drugstore wouldn't serve us, when neighborhoods were redlined. But at least Mommy could get a job teaching and Daddy could get a job behind a desk. And after all, if you are a college graduate, that's the least you can expect. Though the Pullman Porters took us south each summer and watched over us with an unfailing faith and got us from there to here. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I was born there, in the only state in rebellion that didn't have to undergo Reconstruction, in the volunteer state that sent as many for one side as another, in an area where if I just have to have a car break down, I would prefer any holler to any city neighborhood, but there was no work and no way, and the chronic angers that flared would chase us to Ohio. We were not Liza crossing the river, just 4 people, 2 in love and 2 who were loved, who needed to put a rest to the rage. But the rage stayed, and someone had to go. I chose me. But I was born there, so the going was a coming. I'm a native Tennessean. I take no joy in Davy Crockett, nor Jim Bowie. They were wrong to be at the Alamo. They were wrong to fight for the theft. I loved James Agee. I loved Thunder Road, though I, a native Tennessean, was not allowed to play a bit part when the crew came to town to film the movie. Ingrid Bergman and Anthony Quinn came to take a walk in the spring rain. And despite it all, I like Andrew Jackson. At least he knew the big guys were wrong. I'm a native Tennessean. I graduated Fisk University in Nashville. I know that the freedmen paid for that school. Nobody gave them anything. Pennies and nickels and prayer and determination. The freedmen paid for it, and many others. I know the American Missionary Society took the money the Jubilee Singers made to save Fisk and used it for the other purposes. I know the American Missionary Society was wrong. I was educated by the singers of those songs. I love those songs. How could I not love Nashville? How could I not love Dinah Shore, who invited the Jubilee Singers to sing at the Grand Ole Opry, then had to hear the rumors? She sang on, sang until she saw the USA in her Chevrolet. Mwah. I once saw her on a plane. I was going to the cabin. She was in first class. I said, hey. She smiled and said, hey, back. When I got Georgia on my mind, I rode the Chattanooga choo-choo to Lookout Mountain. I saw Memphis and was enchanted, from the mighty Mississippi gracefully turning all red to Bill Street beats at midnight. All those blues from so many bloods decided to turn my blues to Memphis gold. W.C. Handy, Bobby Blue Bland, B.B. King, the late, great Johnny Ace, stacks and stacks of music, American music. The Athens of the South held Tennessee music, but Memphis put the tears to the lonely and crossed over. Everybody wants to rock to my rhythm. I am Memphis. I heard the shots that took Martin. I know who killed the king. I'm a native Tennessean. I know what it is to be free. I am singing the country blues. I am whittling a wooden doll. I am underground mining coal. I am running moonshine. I am a white boy with a banjo, native to West Africa. I am a black boy with a twang, native to the hills. I am smart. I am cool. I am unafraid. I am free. Yeah, I'm a native Tennessean. And I'm a big fan of West Virginia. And obviously, no, not obviously. Let me do one. I should tell you, because some of you don't remember Dinah Shore. Some of you my age do. But because Dinah Shore invited the Jubilee Singers, and she was a huge star at that point. I mean, she became a bigger one, but because she invited the Jubilee Singers, Grand Ole Opry, which was going through its prejudice period, but they've gotten over it, was saying, you know, we can't have Negroes, and I'm sure that's not what they said, at the Grand Ole Opry. And Dinah said, that's, you know, fine, because she was always cool. You know, remember her thing with Burt Reynolds? She was always cool. And she was like, that's fine, but I won't be there either. And so that meant if you want Dinah, you have to get her. So they let her, as they put it, they let her do it. And so, of course, what people are crazy and cruel. So what they started saying was, well, she must be colored too. And she was like, I'm cool with, I'm down with it. And she was really cool. I really like Dinah Shore. If you didn't know her, then this is. But I'm also, because I grew up in the mountains, and I'm a big fan of Dolly Parton and stuff, but Dolly's really cool. I mean, I'm so sorry about Whitney. You talk about a wasted career. But I tell you, I have a dog. Her name is Alex. She's a little Yorkie. She's 6 years old, cute as she can be, really smart. I wouldn't let Alex date Bobby Brown. I wouldn't. Yeah, no. No, ruin her career. But I'm a fan of West Virginia for obvious reasons. And if I made the West Virginia flag, it would say, we will not send our sons, because that's what West Virginia said. It was going to be Kanawha. We will not send our sons to die so that the Shenandoah can have slaves. So for everybody to talk about this, it wasn't about slavery, it was about states' right, the state rights to do what? Have slaves. Of course, it's ridiculous. And I've always admired West Virginia. Botetourt County in Virginia did at one point run from the Atlantic Ocean to the Ohio River. And of course, what happens in all of these situations, because you have the people who are migrating through the mountains, Virginia is going to take the better part of the mountains, the part that you can plan in, and Ohio and Pennsylvania are going to come in. And that's going to leave this spine. And I just want to say, if nobody else has said it recently, these are great people. The people living in this area are great people. And I resented James Dickey. I resented the whole deliverance thing. Like they just, reprobates up there waiting for some guy to come along so that they can screw him. That's not, it's just not right. It's not right. The only thing that you can still say in America, the only bad pejorative term that you can use is hillbilly. Nobody will say anything, but you can't say WAP, you can't say the N, nothing. But you can still say hillbilly. So why are we mad at those people? We're mad at those people because they took a stand, and it was the right thing. It was the right thing, thank you. It was the right thing to do. And truly, these are great people. Because anybody living in a mountain, you know that because you're out here in the desert, except that you've changed the water type and stuff. But anybody going up the mountain, it's not hostile, but it's inhospitable. You can grow a little corn if you get lucky. You can grow a little tobacco. And until other people started coming in and cutting down the mountaintops, you had some game, and the rivers had fish and stuff. But one of the things we know is that the instrument of choice, as you do know, is the banjo. And the banjo is native to West Africa. So you have to ask yourself, sometimes when you're studying history, I get sick of people saying, well, tell me what you find, because you can't find things. If you're black, you can't find a lot of the things. You have to look at what do you know? What do you have? Because there's not going to be any record. Nobody's going to write a statement and say, a Negro came through with a banjo yesterday. I mean, that's not going to happen. But that's the kind of thing that the racists want you to look at. And if you say there was a relationship there, how do you know? Because, damn it, I'm smart. You get sick of that one, too. You have to know if you're smart. I think it's important to know if you're dumb. But I think it's... Well, I do. Because a lot of people are dumb. I saw Sarah Palin finally just realize. She is. She is. She is. I wrote a poem because I'm a fan of West Virginia. I'm definitely a fan of the mountains. I grew up, Knoxville is right there. I often said, if I live to be like 80, which would be fine, I can handle that, I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called, If I Had Been Born in Memphis, I Would Have Been a Blues Singer. And I'm sure that that's true, because all the blues, look at what comes out of Memphis, right? And then look at what comes out of Nashville. And then it's the writers coming out of the hills. And of course, the most famous, I mentioned Dolly, but Dolly is the most famous writer coming out of our inn, and Dolly does incredible songs. Aside from what Whitney has done with them, Dolly herself, she, the Long White Limousine, Dolly does beautiful songs because she too is telling stories. So I wrote a poem, When God Made Mountains. I'm a Baptist. I grew up in Mount Zion Baptist Church with my grandmother. And of course, all of us who would be Christian, if you're not, you're not missing anything like that. I'm not, this is not. But just because I am doesn't mean everybody has to be, You are what you grow up to be, and you learn to respect everything. But we have that expression which always enchanted me, I shall lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord. And I am a firm believer, if we don't continue to lift up our eyes, then we're lowering it. And that's not good. Human beings have to aspire. So I'm a mountain person, and I really do love the mountains. They're just beautiful. And this time of year, it's incredible because the leaves are changing, and you can see, the deer, and some fool is going to decide that the deer need to be thinned, and that makes me crazy. Because if you want to thin the deer, bring back the wolf. The wolf will take care of it. If you're scared of the wolf and mad, then bring back the coyote. Because the coyote will bring down the young and the old, and the others will survive. That is ridiculous. The human beings go out in the forest, and I'm going to shoot a deer like the deer can shoot back. And then we got fools that actually go out and cut the head off of a deer, right, and leave it out there. And say, what the hell is wrong with you? You call yourself a hunter. It's called murder. But I said to my class recently, I'm running for God. I am. And, well, I think God should be elective. There's a lot of... I do. There's a lot of controversy going on, so if you run for God, you put your platform out there. And one of the things that I'm perfectly willing to do, because I think God doesn't use his powers enough, I'm willing to smite. So, vote for me, I'll smite them. And I think I'd be a good God. I like food, I like wine, I like the Greek God. I think I'd work. I listen to everybody, and I'm positive. I mean, what more do you want from a God? So, that's true. I shouldn't do that. I won't get invited back. I wrote a poem because I'm a mountain person, and because the oldest mountains, as you know, are the Appalachian chain. Your neighbors to the west are, of course, the Rockies, and they're bigger, and that's because the earth keeps changing, and our mountains are going down, but they're still majestic. When God made mountains, he made runaway slaves with no book knowledge of the North Star, nor botany classes describing moss on the north side of trees. He made black men and women unafraid of mountain lions and Florida panthers. And no matter what Teddy Roosevelt tried to show, bears do not like people. Not the cuddly little koala, not the fierce grizzly, not the mighty polar, nor the humble mountain black bear. All bears and their dens are to be avoided. God did make the jackrabbit who could be snared. He did make the possum who was slow. He made the clever raccoon and rivers sweet with fish. God made berries and nuts and green leafy things which were safe and good to eat. When God made runaway slaves, he knew he would need a friend, not only in nature, but of a human kind. So he sent mountaineers. He sent white people who would not be a slave nor own one, who would not kill a slave owner nor die for one. He sent a free white man who believed in change and a free white woman who believed in him, and they made their home amid these mighty mountains. They liked to have a drink or two, so they welcomed Johnny Appleseed, who brought stories and fermented applejack. They liked heroes, so they welcomed the traveling preacher with his message of a man who has trampled out the vineyard where the grapes of wrath are stored. They liked to sing, so they welcomed the runaway slave with his banjo, and friendships were formed. When God made mountains, he made men and women who would need each other, who would respect each other, who would carry the word so that all men and women could be saved. When God made mountains, he said, "Come unto me, ye who need rest." And they called it Appalachia, the original word for peace. And some folks said, "This cannot be done." And the rest said, "Yes, we can." And the clouds settled in that welcome place between ground and trees and sky, like smoke coming off a coffee pot, like steam coming off from a kettle of pinto beans, like the rustic smell of a wood-burning fire at day's end, at home and at peace, like God has a rocking chair in the sky, smoking his pipe and being proud of his great Smoky Mountains. I just want to read a couple of poems from love poems. Love poem from bicycles. And it's actually called Bicycles because love requires trust and balance. It's the same thing. You know, when you learn to ride a bicycle, the first thing you're going to do is fall. You know, I mean, there's no question. But if you're sane, you get up and you get on the bike again. And it's the same thing when you fall in love. You know, you're always going to fall inappropriately. I mean, he's going to be married or something crazy. You know, some inconvenience. And, but, you know, you kind of start over again. I think love is a good idea. I really do. You start to dress better. You know, your skin clears up. You know, you get in good shape. A lot of I think wonderful thing happens. I mentioned Mommy. My mother died 6 years ago, and I was close to my mother, and so her dying was like not good for me. I mean, it's like, oh wow, and you know that you're going to be sad, but you try to be brave about it. And Mommy fell on June 6th, and she died on the 22nd. So it wasn't a prolonged, you know, and you can say, well, it was good and stuff, but you know, the reality still is, if I could, I'd stuff her and carry her around with me. You know, just. You know, I understand why the Egyptians did, because you miss them. But Mommy died in June, and then my sister Gary, I only have one sister, died in August. And so all of a sudden I went from being the baby in the family to being essentially an elder. And my mother and her middle sister Ann were what was called Irish twins. They're like 11 months apart. And so my Aunt Ann always did what my mother did. So when Mommy died, we knew that Ann was saying, oh, it's time for us to die. And so she died that October. You know, we just knew that that's the way. And so all of a sudden, you know, you're really being alone. Let me be honest, I was incredibly sad. And so I was sitting with Alex on the deck. You know, you find yourself just opening a bottle of wine and sitting there. And then you finally realize, oh, you can't do that, because what makes you stop? You know, you'll be, you know, 90 years old sitting on the deck drunk. So you, well, I mean, I think you have a right to be sad, but, you know, you have to, like, get up. And so I did. I just said, you know, Nikki, it's time. Okay, you've been sad, like, get up. And so I did what black people do. For those of us who are not black, I don't know how you handle it, but black people, I don't, but black people have parties. We do. So I had a party, and I had a caterer. It was really nice. And you start to work your way out of it. And I said to myself, Nikki, you're a writer. And when Mommy was dying, I had my laptop, and I actually sat on her bed, and I just propped my feet up, and I started writing. That's the book Acolytes, which I love so much. But now that I'm trying to move, you don't move around because you're not going to forget you had a mother, you know, but just trying to make adjustments. Actually, you asked me, Neil, about Virginia Tech and the shooting. The one thing that I absolutely, I'm right-handed, saw myself doing was reaching for the phone to call my mother. And you know how you watch, and I realized that's what I wanted Mommy, because it was a horrible thing, and I just wanted to hear her voice. And I realized, now I got to find another way to access her, but I saw myself reaching for that. And I realized, you know, you have to do something. So Nikki, write your way out of it. Well, the best way to write your way out of anything is just fantasy. All writers live in our heads anyway. We're unfit to be around people because we're always, we are. Those of you who write know that. And so I thought the best thing to write my way out of it is to write love poems, because love poems make you smile. Now, that's, speaking of singing, that's the old The King and I. You know, whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune, and no one will suspect I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell. For when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. And I thought, that's what I need to do. Because if you can fool yourself, it's gonna, and I thought, okay, write love poems. And then I started writing love poems, and it made me smile. So now people are seeing me smile. And I realized that I had been, like, unhappy. And so I thought, well, as I said, I know how to spend money. So well, it's an art. And so I went over to Neiman Marcus where all the little old ladies buy clothes. And so I redid my wardrobe so that I could, look better. And then, of course, you start to notice people, and they start to notice you because you look good. Yeah, you have on, expensive clothes, and good perfume. And all of this matters. And so you start to smile at people, and they start to smile at you. And then isn't he cute? And so, well, one thing leads, perhaps to another. But I'm a big fan. But you realize that you're not in good shape because you've been in mourning for a while. And so now you have to get in shape, and after you start to get in shape, hormones. So Bill Marius was teasing me. He said, Nikki, some of these poems are really, sexy. I said, little old ladies have hormones. Bill, get over it. So we do. That's why you have to call your grandmother before you come over. You know it's true. No. You be dropping in, you'll be embarrassed. So. Well, that's true. So I just was enjoying the process of falling in love, and it gives you something to go forward on. And I'm a fan of nature in a way. I'm just a poet, so there's a lot of things that I don't know. But the monarch butterfly, as you know, has the longest wing journey. And it's such a delicate thing. I wrote a poem called Migrations. It's a love poem. When the sun returns to the Arctic Circle from his winter rest, the grasses sprout, seducing the winged and the hoofed. Polar bears and their cubs must flee before the ice breaks up, although others begin a northern journey. The snow goose flies from the Gulf of Mexico to mate and birth her young. 2 million Mongolian gazelles move over the tundra, where each gives birth at the same time, defying the will of the predators who would consume the gazelle's futures, though, of course, only to provide nourishment for their own young predators. Let's not judge too harshly. Salmon swim upstream, jumping falls and grizzly bears. Grasshoppers, ignoring the advice of ants, make music to celebrate winter's end. Monarch butterflies, leaving the safety of Zihuatanejo, forge north, beginning the longest winged journey of spring. With only a hope of warmth and the promise of grasses, they unflinchingly face hunger, thirst, predators, winds, rains, uncertainties, as would I for you. I used to look at a show, I'm close on this point, I love it so much. I used to look at a show called Deal or No Deal. And it's because I'm a Jeopardy fan. And, well, I don't know what you know about writers, but we are an incredibly competitive group. And, we always seem laid back and cool, but we are, no. And I like to eat dinner, about 7:30 or so, and like most people who eat, and I think I eat alone way too much, actually, but because, I travel and stuff. And so most Americans, certainly, who eat alone, tend to turn on the television, right? So I'm eating at 7:30, right? And I've got Jeopardy on. And clearly, because they come up with the dumbest damn answers you've ever heard. What are these people reading? So you're sitting there, though you have no control of the board, you're sitting there answering quickly, and you're choking on your food. And I realize you are. As I'm going to give myself an ulcer if I keep this up. So I had a choice. I could either eat later or not watch Jeopardy. I did the right thing. I decided that I would eat later. Because I love Jeopardy. So I'd get a glass of wine and I'd sit, 7:30 to 8, and I'd watch Jeopardy, and that was cool. And then at 8 o'clock now, I'm having essentially the same dilemma. Because at 8 o'clock, what am I going to watch? Well, of course, where I live, if you go around the channel, Law and Order, right? Dum, 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 dum. So you're sitting there getting ready to cut into your steak, which I'm like most black people, I like my meat done, but nonetheless, it's going to be meat. And on the screen is this dead woman and her eyes. It's true. So you feel like a cannibal. I mean, you can't enjoy. You can't enjoy it. And it's like, oh my God, what can I do? And so I started flipping around, and I found the world's most perfect television show. I found Deal or No Deal. It takes absolutely no intelligence. It doesn't. You have absolutely no control. So if you're eating dinner, it works. I mean, because it's totally, and it's really, and we knew Howie in New York, so everybody's glad he got a show, he's working, you know, things like that. And I'm looking at Deal or No Deal. People are a trip. Let me share a couple of things. If you find yourself on Deal or No Deal, take the third offer. It's your best deal. And no matter what you think, I've actually seen people turn down $600,000 because they're saying things like, I came for the million. What's the difference between $1 million and $600,000? It's totally not a big difference. You know, people are fools. But actually, I finally realized, as you do for those of you who watch the show, Deal or No Deal is really Queen for a Day upscale. So they always have these kind of sad stories going, you know. And let's take it, I'm not picking on West Virginia because I love West Virginians, but there's always Larry from West Virginia, right? And Larry's shirt doesn't quite fit. You know, well, you know, he's a little, you know, and Howie says, come on down, and Larry comes on down. Larry, why do you want to be on Deal or No Deal? Well, Howie, I've been married for 40 years, and little lady never did get a honeymoon. I want to take her on a honeymoon. Audience claps. Oh, that's really sweet. He said, my dog Blue needs his shots and need to get the dog shot. Everybody said, oh. Not everybody's happy for Larry. And he says, you know, my little grandbaby's starting kindergarten and she needs shoes. Oh, this is great. Yeah. So everybody's clapping for Larry. This is good, Larry. You know what I'm saying? And so Howie says, for those of you who play the game, what you have to do, you've got one side that has lower number, one side high number. You want the left side to be the controlling side, and you want to keep the big numbers in. But you have to pick a case. So Howie says, you know, you have a lucky number, Larry, and 21, that's when I lost my virginity. Oh, everybody. You know, everybody's clapping. So the woman holding the case comes down, and she gives him the case, right? And then he has to pick 5 numbers. And for whatever reason, Larry picks 5 numbers, he does, and they end up on the left side. So he's left the million, he's left the 750, so he's in good shape. He's going to get a good offer. Howie picks up the phone, hello, and I do a pretty good Howie. And he says, I'll tell him. And Howie always says that this is a good offer. But it's about $18,000. If you do that, he's going to get about $18,000. I'm not going to knock $18,000, but you can get 18. I mean, if you got that on the first offer, I'm with Larry on that one. So he's going to say, you know, he's got that, Howie's going to say, deal or no deal. But they're always being like, I'm going to show the banker, so it's slam it down, no deal. You know, you could just gently put it down and say, yeah. And he's got to go again, he's got to do another 5 numbers. But as I said, I don't blame him for that. So he does the next 5 numbers, but usually the $1 million goes out around there, 750. One of the big numbers is going to go out. But he is still well within the game, so it's going to go up. And it'll go up a weird number like $35,000. Now we can do the math about that's only $15,000 off of $50,000. That's good money. And so now he's got $35,000. And that's what the banker's offering. So you have to realize Larry came in without clothes that didn't fit. So he might want to think about it, but, you know, now he's getting into the game like, no, I'm lucky. No such thing. But he's going to say no deal. And now Larry's going to get into a very, very dangerous area. He's got to pick 4 numbers, and he's got to leave the big numbers in, the whatever's left. If he lost $1 million, 750,000, 500,000, got to leave that. But let's say he does, for whatever reason. He's leaving the big numbers in. Now his numbers are going to go up. He's going to get something like $52,000, right? Larry, go home. But what's going to happen, and I say this to you as my audience tonight, let me just share this. If you're on Deal or No Deal, do not take your loser friends with you. Don't do it. It is not their money. And so now Larry's looking at these people, don't have a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out of. And he's saying to them, what should I do? And that's what they do. No deal, no deal. Larry's a fool. He listens to him. This is the point in my meal where I smile. It helps my digestion. Because I know what he's going to do. He's going to turn it down, which he does. Next time around, he's knocking out the million, the $500,000, right? He goes on. And, of course, Larry's going to come down to Andrea. One of them has $100. You know the girls. And his case. And because he's a loser, he's going to choose his case. And it's going to have $10 in it. And he's going to smile that smile of the defeated and the stupid. And he's going to say, well, Howie, I had a good time. But the reality is he was pimped. He should have gotten out when he had something. So let me just share that with you. I said to my students, why do they always have these people? I could use $50,000. Why can't I get on Deal or No Deal? And my students love me, and they say, oh, Nikki, we don't want to see you make a fool of yourself. And I'm like, and that would be, if the first time I make a fool of myself is on Deal or No Deal, I have lived a blessed life. Unbelievable. So I wrote a poem because they hurt my feelings. I wanted them to say, I wanted them to say, yeah, Nikki, you should be on, go on and be encouraging. Damn it, I encourage them. So I wrote Deal or No Deal for English 4714. And just so, because we have a CRN, just so they would exactly always know who they were, CRN 16937. And I want them to get old and look at that and say, we should have encouraged Nikki. She could have had something. My class is not so sure that I should apply to Deal or No Deal. They think I am lucky. I am, after all, teaching them. They know I'm smart. They are, for example, learning. Yet, they don't want to see me make those greedy mistakes and push beyond the envelope. The banker is neither friend nor foe. He's a machine. To think you can beat him is to think you will win at Vegas or love. But I persist. My dream is a red dress above my knees, high-heeled red sandals, and me coming over the top. The music booming. Doom, 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 doom. Hi, Howie, I will say with a lovely smile. I don't want to play the game, I want to be it. They were born 40 years after me, yet I am younger. I know you cannot go through life unless you are willing, for love or money, to make a fool of yourself. Where else does the ecstasy lie?
From some of your sorrows.
Yes.
So if they would come on stage. They're already here? Okay. They're in the back. They're in the back. So I have to call them out.
You're a great audience. You should rent yourselves out.
Giovanni, on behalf of the Iota Kappa, Phoenix Metropolitan Alumni, and Tempe Alumni Chapter, we would like to thank you for coming and speaking with us for this delightful discussion. On behalf of all three chapters, we would like to present you with this gift.
Oh, lovely. Oh. Oh. Beautiful. Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful. What's it called? We are climbing Jacob's ladder? What's it called? That's what it looks like, doesn't it? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is, I think, Nikki has agreed to answer a few questions, so I looked at some and
Sure,
we'll
let's
just
respond.
throw them out at you.
I don't know why we call it Q&A, because you all don't always have questions and I sure don't have answers. It's like
Okay.
call and response, that kind of thing. Yes, sir.
I have 4 children. One of them is 12 years old. He read 5.4 million words this quarter, the most in his junior high. He says he doesn't like poetry. I've read poetry to him, but he's still not connecting with it. Any suggestions, any poets, any poems, any strategies?
No? I wouldn't have a clue. I mean, if he's reading, he doesn't have to like poetry. Does he have to like poetry? I wouldn't have a. If he's 12, if he's a nice kid, leave him alone. No. No. Well, they like to read what they like to read, and sometimes poetry. You know, if he's reading, he's going to continue to read. My son, when he was a little boy, you know, which I totally regret, by the way, was into Silver Surfer. If I had realized, we had a first edition of Silver Surfer. Yeah, I could have taken a trip around the world on that thing. So, you know, they're doing things. I donated, which he's never let me forget. But, you know, they read what they read, and he's a lawyer. He takes care of himself and his wife and child, so that's all you want. You just don't want them calling you, so. That's true.
As a cancer survivor, how has it influenced your writing as a Black feminist or as a woman?
I don't think that, I'm not one of those people that learns by tragedy. And so I've kind of laughed. It was one of those, like, if God, you know, was trying to send me a message, he didn't have to send it through cancer. He just could have called. But, yeah. I don't think it's changed. I don't have a why me attitude, because I live in a cruel nation, and I'm an American, but we are cruel. So if something happens to me as an American, it's the price you pay for being thus. And we have to get rid of a certain number of human beings, have to transition out as certain numbers are transitioned in. I assure everybody here that I will be sad when that time absolutely comes for me. I will like, wow, okay, I need to move on. But I don't think that it's not something like why me, because it has to be somebody. What you don't like is things like bombings, and you don't like people just shooting, and you know, you don't want things to happen before everybody is ready for you, to go where you're going. I don't think I'm a big candidate for heaven, but I know my mother is there, and I know that she's an incredibly persuasive woman. So I think that I think she'll help me, move on up. But I don't think that it's made me any nicer, any meaner. I don't think it's, I'm just still me. I think life is a good idea. I always recommend it. And I do. And things happen. I will say this to any man, because women know to have breast examinations. Men, and I said that to my son recently, forget that they have mammary glands that just don't get used. So men can have breast cancer, and you should check that out, because something will take you, when it's your time, you will go. You don't want to go before it's your time, because you're being foolish. Because I don't want to get an operation. I don't want a colonoscopy. First of all, colonoscopies are great fun because the drugs are incredible. And they are. The hard part is the prep. The prep is pretty awful, but there really is a light at the end of the tunnel. And as it were. So that's the way I look at all of it. You're just trying to you're trying to lead a decent life, and you're trying to take care of yourself, because one day it'll be time to go. And That's Thanatopsis, isn't it? So live so that when thy summons comes. And that's what you're trying to do, just make sure that you've done the best you could with what you had, and that you didn't, I never want to be whiny, you know, and that you're not, nobody's picking on us. You know, I don't want to be lynched or assassinated, something like that, because that's before my time. I just want to, well, you know what I'm saying? But you just, it's good to be alive. It's a lot of fun, and I don't understand, I really don't, I didn't when I was young, why people were enthralled with youth. I think that the best starts at around 50. And I do. Yeah, it's incredible, you know. The kids are out, tuition is paid for, the house is paid for. You're either divorced because you were sick of him, or you have made, no, I mean, you know, things happen that really work, because, you know, you have to do it. When you're in your 30s or so, you stay with people because, you know, you have a house, you have a mortgage, kids, whatever. You get to be 50, all that's taken care of, so you get to make decisions about how you're going to conduct your life, and that's really a good thing. And, you know, you get to fall in love, maybe with the same person you married, maybe somebody different. What the hell is your life? So.
Any advice for President Obama given today's challenges?
Oh, man. Well,
It's like
I
a
don't.
catch-up question, doesn't it?
No, I
You
do.
can pass on any of these.
Yeah, I know that. I do politics a lot. I've been incredibly disappointed with Barack Obama, because I watched George Bush for 2 elections, 1 appointment, 1 election, and that's true. And what Mr. Bush said, I met the president, by the way. He came to Virginia Tech when I met Mr. Bush, came to the president when we had the shooting. But what Mr. Bush said was, I'm going to take care of my base. He said, some people call you fat cats. I remember that speech. But I call you my base. And he went on to have some disastrous tax cuts that we're all paying for. I had expected Mr. Obama to come in and look out for his base, which is to say we needed a jobs program before we needed to bail out. We still, as you know, cannot bail out Wall Street until we bail out Main Street, until the people have work. So I've been incredibly disappointed. The president doesn't call me. I will, he doesn't. I am reading at the MLK, or unless he hears that I said this and decides he doesn't want me to come. I'm reading at the MLK. You know, we had to cancel the August dedication because of the hurricane. And so we're going to be there October 16th, and Mr. Obama will be there. I can assure you, Mr. Obama, his people, and everybody else, there will be no politics talked, because we're not there to talk politics, and he's not asking me what I think. We're there to dedicate Martin Luther King. So whatever else is wrong with me, I am appropriate. But if you ask me what I think, well, that's important. But I am incredibly disappointed in this president, because you can't be nice to people who are not going to be nice to you. And in many respects, he's empowered the hatred that we're now seeing, and it's not good. He needed to come in there and slap them people down and get something done. Yeah. So I don't know where it's going from here. I know the Republicans are not serious right now, because if they were serious about running against him, they would put a moderate. There's no way. Rick Perry's out of his mind. I mean, Rick Perry's half step off with the world is flat. He is. And we know none of these people. There's nobody running right now. Mitt Romney is a whore. There's nobody. You know he is. They're not putting anybody up that can attract the independent vote. And the independent vote right now is looking for a champion. Nobody's championing you and me. And I mean, just the ordinary, good-hearted people. We did our job with this president. We elected him, and we gave him a bulletproof Senate and a bulletproof House. So he was supposed to use that for the good of the people. And that would be good for America. That's why I know I don't want to run for president. I want to run for God, because I'd be out there. That's the truth.
How and when did you discover that poetry is your gift?
I just think I'm lucky. You know, I got to do what I enjoy doing, but I tell you the truth, if I died and went to hell, I'd make friends with the devil. Because that's where you are. I'm in hell, so I may as well shovel the shit and go on. Excuse me. But I'm lucky because I'm a mountaineer. We talked earlier, and we do tell stories. So I grew up storytelling. We didn't have TV in Knoxville, Tennessee until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And on Sunday, you didn't have it until 6 because everybody was assumed to be from Sunday school to church to the afternoon meeting, right? So TV didn't come on. So you're always telling stories. And I grew up in a storytelling tradition. I enjoy what I do, and I think as long as I have something fresh, you know, I don't repeat myself very often, and I'm trying to build on what I think of as the best of me, you know, because everybody gets angry, you know, we laugh about things, but you get angry and you wish things would be different, and you realize some things you can change, some things you can't. I do know this, what I can't change, I don't have to pretend is right. And that's what keeps me sane.
We again want to thank you for coming tonight. If you enjoyed what you heard, please let somebody know at that table how we can get in touch with you so that you know how to stay connected with us. Without you, this could not have been the success that it is. Go out and tell somebody, and I have to thank the marshals again, both Robert and Maxine in the back, if you'll raise your hand. Good evening, drive safely, and talk about the good time that we had to anybody that you run into. Thank you very much.